What better place to start my trot than at the birthplace of Wales in Queensland, Australia, Ipswich, just outside the capital of Brisbane.
I've been invited to help repair this railroad, and I'd say it's the first railroad that I've actually been invited to repair before I travelled on it.
I'm joining a force of volunteer fettlers.
It's one of the largest and most difficult airlifts in history, but even as thousands are flown out daily, many more people are clamoring outside the gates, and as each day passes, their situation becomes more desperate. CNN's Sam Kiley has the latest.
Desperate for a child's salvation, a baby handed to US Marines over razor wire at Kabul's airport. President Biden offering a dispassionate view.
We've secured the airport, enabling flights to resume. Not just military flights, but civilian charters from other countries, and the NGOs taking out civilian
Among Us right now. I think.
vulnerable Afghans. And now we have almost 6,000 troops back.
But through the hours of daylight, no evacuation aircraft left the runway, leaving hundreds pressing on its perimeter as night fell. Some 13,000 people have been flown out by the US since last Saturday, August the 14th. Many times that number awaiting in heat, chaos and gunfire. Threatened by Taliban whips, they fear worse awaits them if they stay. The German broadcaster Deutsche Welle says that Taliban fighters searching for one of their journalists killed a member of his family, and artists are fleeing in fear too.
Grounded here.
Okay, life is not about just eating or getting progress. It's about creativity.
Taliban is dismissing
I want to be on fast.
reprisal attacks against those who fought them or work for NATO as fake news. 20 years of fighting by the US and its allies has resulted in a Taliban triumph and an evacuation of local allies.
Yay!
It looks more like a rout. Many European allies of the US are rattled by the sudden withdrawal of American forces and the Taliban victory. There are
I'm playing this game.
The president defiant.
There's a greater danger from ISIS and Al-Qaeda and all of these affiliates in other countries by far than there is from Afghanistan. We're going to retain an over-the-horizon capability that they were to be able to take them out, surgically moving.
Where?
This is where we should be. This is about America leading the world, and all our allies have agreed to that.
The Taliban, meanwhile, celebrating with broadcast parades of its special forces carrying what appear to be American weapons. They were all born in a time of war, like this baby who was treated in an airport clinic and returned to their family. If he or she makes it out of Kabul, they at least will have no memory of these dark days. Sam Kiley, CNN Doha, Qatar.
After reporting from Afghanistan for 3 weeks, our Clarissa Warren and her team made it inside the airport Friday. Before flying out of Kabul, she spoke with Anderson Cooper about the conditions thousands are facing as they try to flee Taliban rule.
It's just chaos. Right now, we're actually on the airfield, which is the privileged place to be. That means we've reached the final furlong, and we are, in principle, about to get on a bird and out to safety, although we've now been here well over 10 or 12 hours. Others have been here 2 days and still haven't managed to get on a flight yet. I'm looking around now. People sleeping on the ground, on the gravel. It's a very chilly night. A woman just came up to me and asked me for a blanket, or I gave her my scarf. There's babies everywhere. And the situation with the washrooms is not good at all. I had a couple of families come up and complain to me that it wasn't sanitary. They couldn't wash their children or keep them clean. I'm looking around now. It looks a little bit inside. There's an inside sort of processing area. There's just children lying all over the floor. mothers desperately trying to stroke their backs and calm them. And this is what we've been seeing all day, only earlier it was under the blistering hot sun, and the only thing that the Marines had to give out was little strips of cardboard to be used as improvised fans to try to help keep them cool, these babies. One baby we saw had to be evacuated. It was a newborn baby and the sun was so hot that he was dehydrated. So it's a desperate situation.
Several hours later, Clarissa tweeted that she landed in Doha, Qatar, along with her team and nearly 300 Afghan evacuees. She thanked those involved, saying, "We are the lifelines." We're now learning that a staggering number of people have made it to the Kabul airport with hopes of catching a flight out of the country. They're not necessarily all eligible to be evacuated. CNN's Nick Payton Walsh joins us from Doha. So Nick, I understand the situation may be even more dire in terms of the numbers there than we previously thought. You've done some reporting on this. What can you tell us?
A source familiar with the situation on the airport says to me that the number of people trying to get out on planes from there is now at 14,000. Now I should point out that they have pretty good information, but obviously these numbers are changing a lot at the time. So Clarissa heard from somebody there, to a Marine, that they were looking at 10,000 yesterday. It appears to have swollen since then, which is entirely in keeping with the sheer volume of people outside. 14,000 with extremely bad maths at about sort of 400 per plane. It's about 30 plane loads of individuals that have to get off just so you can start letting more people on. Now, an Afghan I spoke to on the base spoke to a Marine who said, look, you shouldn't be getting into the airport now. It's, quote, a trash-filled dumpster. It's just so overloaded.
I want victory.
How did they get to that situation? The source I spoke to said that it came from a number of days in which the sort of, you might call it the preparation process the Americans have there, and working out who are you, what documents do you have, are you eligible for the special immigrant visa program, etc., etc. That sort of collapsed, and there was a bit of a humanitarian crisis, and essentially the vulnerable allowed in, or people who knew people were allowed in. They may at this point beginning to be tightening that up. But the question, of course, now is how long can this actually go on for? It's quite clear from both President Biden and the Pentagon that America does not know how many American citizens are currently in Afghanistan still. That's pretty important. They have guaranteed they will get them out. That's one indefinite measure of how long this might go on for. The second, if indeed there have been humanitarian people allowed in, and still there are many SIV cases out there in the ground, longing, some dying to get in, and that SIV program has now been expanded to include NGOs, media workers, lots of people close to the US presence but not necessarily directly employed by it. Then the number of Afghans eligible for that could be in the tens of thousands already. And add to that too, the hundreds of thousands of Afghans who jump at the chance of getting out of Afghanistan and heading to the west. You have essentially, you could have millions, frankly, of Afghans who would love to take this opportunity up. When does the US say, this is enough, we can't do this forever? You've seen those things. It's unsustainable. It's exactly the kind of potential indefinite commitment that they were trying to get out of by sparking this crisis. So the source I spoke to said the conversation about how long has sort of begun, and there are some defense officials, this source had heard, beginning to think that about a week is how much longer this would make sense for. So that is problematic to some degree as well, because if this ends, there'll be a rush. If this goes on indefinitely, there will still be a rush, because success is America's worst enemy here. If people are getting off, and they will want to get on the airport. And so essentially, we are dealing with...
No idea why is it so dark in here.
Absolutely. But among those who did make it out, now former President what went on behind the scenes as he fled the
That
country. So
was a weird game.
Yeah, I mean, essentially the big mystery in this is why young President Ashraf Ghani has fallen out in Dubai in a healthcare centre. Why he's on the upsticks and leave, not even telling anybody. That essentially caused a vacuum into which the Taliban stepped very comfortably. Now, speaking to a former senior official who has pretty good knowledge of how this went down, and they justify their actions here, of course, but they essentially said it was unprecedented. The speed of the Taliban advance, they underestimated it. They were pushed into defending capitals by the Americans, and then essentially they realised the umpire was near the palace and it was time to go